I'm Blue here in the UK at RAD HQ. I'm going to walk you through the past, present, and the future of what we got going at RAD Running. So first things first, our heritage shoe is the UFO, something that we launched into the market with. It's why you know RAD Running. It's very much the hero of our entire running line. I guess speaking of heritage, my whole introduction into RAD Running has a lot to do with rad, surf, skate, multi-sport. That's kind of my vibe. I grew up in a multi-sport world, and my dad was a surfer. Surfing was kind of our family sport. Rock climbing, anything wild, anything crazy. And so when I met RAD and I got introduced to the brand, I was very excited to see something different in the running world. It's very much what running is, or RAD is, sorry.
How did you come across RAD?
I first came across RAD at the Speed Project. Race from LA to Las Vegas, an unsanctioned, no rules relay race. And RAD had a team out there. I met Ben, the founder, and instantly I vibed with not just Ben, but everything that the brand was about. Something fresh, something new, something like authentic. And I could tell that RAD cared about sport, and they had just a different way of looking at things. So instantaneously, I was a fan, and the rest is history. We had an amazingly bold idea with the first RAD Running, what we call a super trainer. This is the UFO. This is the hero. This is a super trainer, and the idea was to improve economy and reduce fatigue the longer you ran. So obviously the goal was to really test the sucker. We went about doing all kinds of long distance tests, and the shoe you're looking at right now has, actually it says it on this one, has 2,000 miles on it. We weren't intending to get 2,000 miles out of one shoe, but we wanted to see how far this thing would go. A year later, we actually got 2,000 miles. You can see how much damage or not there is on that midsole. The exposed midsole is where you get most of the wear, obviously, in any shoe, the ground contact points. But it just kept going. And I think when we first got to 1,000 miles, we had a couple testers get to 1,000 miles on the initial testers. And when she got to 1,000, we made the joke of like, yeah, could you imagine if you got to 1,500? That happened. And then we got to 2,000, and they were still going. When we asked her to send them to London from LA, she didn't want to give them up because they still work. So we actually don't know what the limit of the UFO is as far as mileage goes. So to be determined.
What's the main difference between the most recent UFO compared to the tester ones there? Is there any key changes, or were they pretty spot on from when they were tested?
We had a lot of perspectives with the UFO initially as far as a rockered geometry all the way through. So there's no flat midfoot section for stability. We had this idea of plyometric stability. So thinking that you're always in motion, you never really need stability in the traditional sense, at least with this shoe, that was our approach. And so everything from the geometry to the foam, a dual PIBA midsole foam that's really responsive and bouncy, but also soft. Those two things in combination with this U-throat upper that really pulls in and locks tight to the foot, all of those things were built around economy and efficiency. So we really were going after that shoe that you could wear all the time. And essentially that's what we were able to achieve. And what we've done since then is try different materials, different foams, different shapes, and we just kept going back to what we originally did. So I think a lot of the thinking was sound in the beginning, and it just kept leading us back to where we began. So
can we look at a comparison of the one you've got to your left that was tested and probably one of the most newest ones on the market?
So here's how they look after 2,000 miles. Here's how they look brand new. That's pretty. Yeah, so what's interesting is you don't see a lot of difference in shape, and if I had a beat up version of the Synth, over time, these end up curving up. But you see typically a shoe will turn up a bit in the toe after a lot of miles. The UFO doesn't change at all. You will see that the midsole gets a lot more wear in between the pods, but essentially the rubber is very durable. And this is that natural real rubber that we have on the outsole. And because of where the pods hit the ground, whether you're a heel striker, we've tested heel striking, forefoot striking, midfoot, and wherever you land on the shoe, the pods are oriented to capture most of the friction points that you're going to get. So we haven't really found in any of our testing, we haven't found a wear pattern that inhibited the stride of the runner. So all positives.
How many miles on an average do you reckon you could get out of a pair of UFOs?
I would confidently say that any runner could get around 1,000 miles unless they just were trying to drag their feet across rocks. But beyond that, this thing is so durable. And it's a PIBA midsole. So what's amazing about that, it's like this highly responsive, truly super foam, you know, and its performance capabilities. But what you don't expect from PIBA is durability. And so to say something, to make the statement that this is a high mileage shoe when you're talking about PIBA is not what you'd expect. And that's kind of the superpower of the shoe.
Could you show us that sort of in action, that reactiveness of the foam?
Yeah.
Because that clearly is a USP.
It's got so much action to it, right? And there's a secret to the UFO that I'm willing to talk about right now. It's a dual foam. And this shoe, while it's a super trainer, it's not meant to be a racing shoe because it has two different densities of PIBA foam that are glued together. It has a rigidity that you'd expect in a plated shoe. So this is a non-plated super trainer that has similar characteristics to a plated shoe. And that is probably the real secret and superpower of the shoe is that you're going to feel a lot of that not only soft, responsive foam action, but also some rigidity that you might not expect because of that glue line.
It's clear the UFO is a hero in the collection, and I see it bouncing around London all the time. With the other trainers that we have on the wall behind us, for those who are looking for maybe a more of a sturdy shoe or something similar, could we talk about the wall behind you because it's bright. It's bright. It's in your face. I love it.
Our color is one of our favorite aspects. We have an amazing color team in Portland. Obviously, they do an amazing job, and it's really out of the box thinking. But to your point, we can't just have one shoe for everything that we do. And when we set out about trying to create the most performance enhancing shoes that we could for runners, we wanted to, really open up the possibility that you could run more, you could be more protected, and you could add more miles, essentially do more of the thing that you love to do. That being said, if you just have something that's always making things easier, you're leaving something off the table. So we always had the intention to have multiple tools. And the synth was something that we've been working on from day one, something a lot more what I would say is traditional. You have a much more stable midfoot. So as compared to the fully rockered UFO, the synth is going to land and stay landed, right? And that flat section through the midfoot is designed for stability. And whether you're standing around walking all day or when you're running, you get to that place in stance phase when you actually want to be stable, and this gives you that. It also has a much more aggressive rocker, but much more near the front. So we have a rocker that starts really far back. So very early in your stride, you start to roll forward, but it's more gradual. In the synth, you don't hit that point till further up, but it goes way faster. So this is a shoe that you would wear on the track, a tempo run. It's probably going to be less volume, less miles per run, but it's going to rip. It's really light. Actually, they're all pretty light nowadays, but it's going to be a lot quicker. And so that's why we made the synth. It's an everyday trainer, but it's not for the same long runs. It's more for fast track, and it's really durable. It's an EVA foam. It's a mix actually of EVA and TPEE. So we've got a more durable, I would say, like a foam that you can take into the weather, into the the different conditions that you might not want to bring PIBA into because you're worried about protecting it. So this is a very durable shoe that you can wear in any condition, any environment. That's why we made that. Last but not least, actually kind of a crowd favorite, is the Mallow. So this is truly designed to be your lifestyle, everyday trainer, easy recovery shoe, but it also has some secret sauce in it. This shoe is a combination, geometry-wise, it's a combination of the other two in that it has a rocker that starts relatively far back, but it's also really aggressive. And it has the stability and the flat section in the midfoot. So you've got a stable, comfortable, high-stacked max cushion trainer that also rips. And I think that was almost an accident. We weren't trying to make a fast, easy day shoe. But the reality is when we got into testing, all of the testers were like, man, this thing is like fast though. It's stable, it's comfortable, it's soft, but when you want to run, it gets off the ground and goes. So that's your 3. That's the line. While the UFO is very much the hero shoe, it's mostly hero because it's for the longer distance runs, right? But depending on what you're looking for as a runner and what your primary training environments are, you might gravitate toward one or the other.
So if you were to put the 3 shoes together like we've got them, and I was to say one's for an easy run, one's for intervals or tempos, and then one's for like a race day,
yeah,
what would you say?
Right here, the lineup. Here's my lineup for you.
And your colorway lineup as well.
And the colorway lineup. So you've got your easy day recovery shoe, comfortable, and not only that, walk around all day. You're like going to grab some coffee, but you also might do a little run, or you might run to coffee. That's that bad boy. You got tempo intervals on the track or some fartleks. You're running through the park. You might want to rip with your buddies. You got a crew run. And you got to show who's fastest. That's your tool right there. And then this is long, as far as you could possibly want to go. This is going to be your best friend. The longer you go, the better your feet feel in that shoe. So this is the heritage and the origin story of RAD, and we're designing that story right now. But it is not the future. So what we're working on right now is basically refining the curiosity. And the way that RAD looks at running is, as long as we stay curious and we feel like we don't have the answers, then it'll never stop us asking the questions of what we can improve on. And that's really what RAD Running is all about. It's like, how do we unlock something that hasn't been unlocked already in the running industry? It's a saturated market, right? Like, there's so many big players, and we're a very small company, but we have a very powerful passion, and we have an amazingly talented group of people in Portland and London that are developing products that really are shaking up the industry. And the way we do it is we stay curious, and we're just looking at, like, what is the thing that we can refine that we haven't done yet that can get us to that next place. And I can tell you right now, we are onto some things. So stay tuned.